Hello class, my name is Mr. Alvaro Leal and I'm your instructor for beginner computer applications. We're going to start assignment number 2. Once you're done, you're going to upload it to Blackboard and you will get a grade for it. Now, make sure that when you're doing this assignment that some of the hours worked are bigger than 40. That way it makes sense. Because if you don't have any hours bigger than 40, then when you're trying to compute the overtime, there won't be anybody doing overtime. So just make sure once you open your spreadsheet to go look at your spreadsheet, and if you just made up some numbers, if you copied the numbers exactly, there's no problem. It's perfect. But if you made up the numbers, make sure that some of the numbers are bigger than 40. Okay, like 41, 42, stuff like that. Okay, so just follow along. It's very short but very powerful. So let's go ahead and start the video.
Excel. Welcome to assignment number 2 for Microsoft Excel. We're going to extend assignment number 1 using the payroll spreadsheet that we had created earlier. What I'd like to do in this assignment is add a new formula using the if formula and also adding the idea of paying overtime to our employees. So you notice here in column D that we have the number of hours that each employee worked. The first employee worked 41 hours. We're going to give him a bonus for his extra hour of overtime. So I'm going to start by inserting a column here in column E. If I click the column header, the entire column is selected. I can right-click on the column header and choose the Insert button, and it will now give me a new column to work with. The first column, column D, was the hours worked. Now I'm going to say this is the overtime hours. The overtime hours is a calculated field, so let's come up with a formula that will tell us how many hours extra that this employee worked. At first it would seem simple. We would just say equals the number of hours the person worked, subtract 40, and that will tell us how many hours of overtime this person has. It works great if you have 41, but there's some errors if you have less than 40. I'm going to fill the column down, and you will see that when we come to Paul Smith in row number 8, he actually gets a -1 hours. It's a negative hours that he's worked. That doesn't seem to work too well. What we would rather give is Paul should have 0 hours of overtime, not a negative number. So let's revise the formula a little bit. So let's go up to here, and this time I'm going to type in an equal sign with the word if. If is a command that says let's take a logical test, and a logical test is either an equal sign, greater than, or less than, and then we'll give it a value depending on if that test is true or not. And if it's false, we'll give it a different number. Watch how this works. The question is if his hours worked is greater than 40 and a comma. The value, if it is greater than 40, should be his hours worked minus 40, a comma. And if he worked less than 40 hours, then let's just give him 0 for this column, which would be 0 hours of overtime. A close parentheses and press return. So he still gets 1 hour of overtime. But now when I fill the formula down, you see that the people that worked less than 40 hours get 0 in their formula instead of negative numbers. And so this is the correct formula for calculating overtime pay. Now, how about the pay? What does that do? Let's go back and review this here. If I double click here, you will see that this formula takes the number of hours, the hourly wage, and fills it in column F. That's great, but now we give them a bonus for working overtime. So let's create a new column and call it overtime bonus. Now in this formula, we're going to calculate a bonus for the number of overtime hours they worked. So I'm going to say equals 0.5. and use the time sign. 0.5 times their hourly wage, so we're going to give them half of their hourly wage times the number of overtime hours they worked. What that does is it gives us a formula to give them time and a half, or 1.5 times for each hour that they worked overtime. Press enter. So since John Kern earned 1 hour of overtime, we give him his full 41 hours of pay plus an extra 50% of his pay for one of those hours. Let's fill this down and see what we have for the rest of the people. Some of the people have 0. This one got no extra time bonus because he worked 39 hours. Some of these people worked 40 hours and still got 0 time. Why? Because the formula is about how many hours beyond 40 that we're calculating. So they got paid their full wage for the first 40 hours. Now, how about the total pay? Let's put in a new column. The total pay is simply equals to their regular 40 hours of pay plus their overtime bonus and a return. And let's use the fill down option. Some of the numbers are too big, so we will expand the column. And this is their total pay. Down here at the bottom, we calculated maximums, minimums, averages, and totals for all of these formulas. Let's move these to the right. Calculate the totals now, and we can see what everybody earned, including their overtime.
All right, guys, so that concludes assignment number 2. What you're seeing on the screen is the assignment number 3, so don't worry about that screen. Just make sure that it looks more like the end of assignment number 2. So it should actually look more like that. Okay, that's the end of.
We can see what everybody earned.
There, that's the end of assignment number 2. So your assignment should look like this. It shouldn't look like the other one. Okay, so this is the end of assignment number 2. Once it looks like this, turn it into Blackboard and you are going to be done. If you have any questions, go ahead and text me and I will try to clarify any confusions. And good luck. Turn it into Blackboard on assignment number 2, and we will see you later. Bye.